lot of weird toppings that people like to put on their popcorn. I guess you can add blood to that list now. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead and like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Season finale of Chucky is here, an affair to dismember. This episode's a lot. It's a lot to digest here. This is one of those ones where it is clear to me that somewhere in the middle of this making of season one of Chucky, Don Mancini was told that he was going to be granted a season two because there are a lot of dangling threads that this season finale has that I don't think he intended to answer here, or if he did, probably was like, all right, cool. Now I don't have to rush those. I can kind of expand that out because there's a lot of shit that does not get answered here. That doesn't make that the episode is bad. It is actually quite fun and inventive, but it does leave you, if you're a fan, to sort of close some stuff out and you want some type of finality. You're not getting that with this. So this picks up right after the end of the last episode. Andy Barclay is showing up to Junior's home right after he has murdered his dad, and Chucky and Junior see him in the window, and Junior goes to answer the door for Andy. Kind of shows him around. Andy asks if Jake is there. He asks if Junior's dad is there. He's like, "Hey, my dad's gone," or he lies, says he's here, then he's not. And he takes him upstairs, and Andy's sort of just snooping around. He's like, do you have the good guy dial that Jake had? He's like, "Yeah, it's in this room." He shows him the room, and he hears some stuff moving around. Because remember, Junior put his dad's body in the armoire that he had. Andy opens up the armoire, body's not there. Junior's like, "I don't know where the hell the body is," which is interesting. But basically, you get a hide and go seek with Chucky and Andy in this. And Andy leaves, and Chucky finally shows himself and is like, "Jesus, I'm always trying to hide from this kid." And Junior's like, "Well, why didn't we just kill him, or why didn't we take him out?" And Chucky essentially says that he has bigger plans for Andy. He has a bigger setup for Andy. So Kyle shows up after Andy's left her at a gas station somewhere, which timing wise, I just don't understand. I don't understand that if Kyle was close enough to be able to get on foot to Lexi's home, why did Andy bother to just leave? Like, did he think he would have enough time from where he got to then to be able to handle whatever he had to handle? Who knows? But Kyle shows up to where Lexi and Jake are. The doll that was Billy that Jake brought from the subway station becomes Chucky and tries to kill them. And then Kyle comes in and gets all Reservoir Dogs on that Chucky doll and just blows holes through it left and right. And then tells them essentially that I was right. Because remember in the last episode I said the only reason I can think of that he keeps wanting to have these innocent folks kill people is because it then allows his whatever he's doing through voodoo, his spell, to sort of, he can take over and copy his soul into as many places as he wants to after an innocent person does take a life, thus Junior. But it has to be a one-to-one vessel. He can only do that to other good guy dolls, except for Nico, which doesn't really get clearly explained, but sure, we'll go with it. Kyle drugs both Jake and Lexi so that they fall asleep and don't go into harm's way. Kyle wants to protect them and keep them on the shelf, so she goes to handle that and does let Jake know that she will find Devin and make sure that he's okay, because she knows that is why Jake would want to go after him. It is at this point that the show goes from a small, like, what the fuck, to what the entire fuck. And it's fun. It is glorious, but it becomes this comedy of errors that I'm like, I don't know if my brain was prepped to get as zany and wacky as this does. I'm going to call him Chucky Prime for a bit. Chucky Prime, we have Junior, Jennifer Tilly, with being possessed by the spirit of Tiffany, Devin, and Nika / Chucky, and then about 60 to 70 good guy dolls that are also Chucky. And some hilarious interaction ensues between Chucky and his Chucky minions. He tells them that we're gonna do this. The plan is, and they all start having questions about this. They get into this back and forth about killing babies and having rules and what age. It's funny. It works. It's just a lot, and there's a back and forth where Chucky talks to Nika as Chucky, and it just comes out that Chucky's a bit of a sociopath, and if he could have a conversation with himself, he would. And Tiffany realizes this, so Tiffany sort of starts taking offense to it, like, "Hey, Nika was with me. Nika is mine. I don't want Chucky in there with her, and I don't want you around. I want to do my thing." And they sort of have their normal back and forth to the point where Tiffany kills him. He kills Chucky. She kills Chucky Prime. She basically decapitates him. Blood spurts all over the place. I do feel like Mancini is going out of his way to murder Chucky dolls in the most disturbing way humanly possible. You know what? I'm here for it. Tiffany also reveals to Chucky that at the end of that episode where I said it didn't really lead anyone last time, but it did seem like Chucky was going to go out for the night that sort of leads to where he is at the beginning of Child's Play 1. She then lets on that she is the reason why Chucky was caught by the police and gunned down is because she tipped them off and gave the police the tip. So Chucky sort of gets infuriated, but that version of him is decapitated and not really useful, although he does still to manage to be able to control his brain and his body separate from each other. Jennifer Tilly sets up a booby trap, so that the front door, when open, an explosion happens. And then she leaves with Junior, Nika, and the 70 dolls to go off and do the next part of the plan. Andy shows up on site, kind of starts snooping around, and then Kyle shows up, but she comes in through the front door because Andy came in through the back, knowing that there might be a trap, and frees Devin, and then Kyle comes in through the front, and we get an explosion. Next sequence has Jake and Lexi waking up to see the news of the huge explosion that has taken place, and they both feel kind of sad because they know that Devin was there. He's brokenhearted. Jake goes home. Lexi goes to get ready for the big Frankenstein gala. And when home, Jake immediately gets met by Devin, who says he was fine. He was able to escape before the explosion. They kiss, and then sort of commiserate and freak out about what to do next. Next shot we really get is Lexi is at the gala or ceremony that her mom is still giving with the Frankenstein show. And she does say that they have a celebrity that they are going to have present these basically Make-A-Wish toys to kids all over the country. And as you guessed it, none other than Jennifer Tilly. And so Jennifer shows up, and the plan is they're going to sell off through donations, if you will, to children of need all over the country. And so these good guy dolls, obviously sentient with Chucky souls, they're going to go all over the country and sort of create this mass army that kind of collapses in on the world. Chucky's got some massive ambitions now. We then get Caroline back with still being a brat and wanting a Chucky doll, and then Lexi sort of sees one of the Chuckies. I can't even call him Chucky Prime anymore because Chucky Prime's dead. But this new Chucky is now on top of Junior and is sort of got the blade at his neck, but we know that that's a ruse to try to lure Lexi away. Everybody's in there watching the movies, having a grand old time watching Frankenstein. There is a Chucky that is with Caroline, who has a great moment of enjoying the sequence where Frankenstein throws the woman into the water and she kind of just floating around. But there's two sequences that are kind of happening parallel. In the back, there's a Chucky with Junior and Lexi, and they're sort of trying to recruit Lexi to become essentially Tiffany for Junior, so he can have a right-hand woman to all of his misdeeds. She's not really going for it. She sort of appeals to the humanity that remains in Junior, and there's a moment when Chucky tries to kill Lexi, and the two, both Chucky and Junior, stab each other over Lexi, and that Chucky is dead, and Junior dies in the arms of Lexi after saying that he's sorry for everything. I didn't really care for much for Junior. I thought the arc to get him to this point was rushed, and while there were a lot of seeds that broke him and made him feel that way. I just didn't feel the earn of going for murder was earned, and so the return back, sort of redemption, doesn't work for me either. I think we needed to spend a little bit more time with that character for this to pay off. But I don't think that's the point of this. I don't think we're really supposed to care that much for Junior anyway. While that's happening, the Chucky that was with Caroline has now gone under the seats and is just having a field day, just stabbing up. He's just stabbing everybody through chairs, which is a bit of a hilarious situation to see. He originally stabs Caroline and Lexi's dad, and then so the blood sort of spurts out, and it's used as like a nice little butter tapenade, little butter covering for the popcorn, and his wife eats some, and before screaming and causing chaos to ensue, and Chucky's just stabbing, going around stabbing left and right. I don't know how many people were still sitting by the time that he was still able to stab some people. I'm like, if I see about 10 people, if this were a black movie theater, everybody would have been gone. But I guess there's still some people sitting in this, so he was able to stab quite a few people. That goes on for a bit, then everybody leaves. While they're leaving, Devin and Jake show up and sort of have a one-on-one face-off with this Chucky. And Chucky pins Jake down with what does not seem to be like he's not being braced by anything, and it's just he's saying that the voodoo power is giving him enough strength. He has the strength of who he is in normal form through the Chucky doll, which is a surprise to Jake, and some sort of a bit of a news, which explains a lot of the things that Chucky's able to do, like moving the body earlier of Junior's dad. It makes a lot more sense when you have that playing in. But we get another gruesome death for Mancini, and Jake takes a hold after a bit of back and forth, takes a hold of Chucky's head and just squeezes it till his eyes bulge out, pop out of the skull. It's a fucking glorious thing to behold. Sickening and great. I'm telling you, Mancini had it out for these Chucky dolls in this. So, as Devin and Lexi and Jake exit the theater, they see Jennifer Tilly heading to a car. She's first giving him the thumbs up and talking to the delivery man who has all the Chuckies in the shipping van. She gets in her car, and as she does, Andy comes out and removes this shipping guy from the truck, and he takes the car off and gives the Jake, Lexi, and Devin thumbs up and shows Jennifer Tilly the middle finger and drives off. So that he's going to thwart the delivery plan that they had. But as he's driving, Tiffany in Tiffany doll form, the first time that we're getting a Tiffany doll in this series, and the first time that Tiffany doll is meeting Andy at all, busts through the window with a gun at gunpoint and is having him to continue on the mission, and they go off into the sunset, and we never see what happens to them for the rest of this season. We get a coda at the end of this with the kids, where Devin, Lexi, and Jake are at Junior's cemetery with Junior, Bree, and his dad, and kind of just giving their condolences. And they're hugging and being friends forever. This is sort of their happy moment. And after all the chaos that has ensued, their favorite teacher, has been released from prison, which is good. Don't really get a character moment for it, but we get sort of the shot of them together and just saying like, oh yeah, we did release her from prison because she shouldn't have been there. And it still doesn't make sense as to why they thought she would be. And that's their story and the end of them. And I don't necessarily know if we come back to them next season. It seems like there's such a clear thread with that I don't know where we go to. But the title of this episode is called An Affair To Dismember. And what we get at the very end is that Jennifer Tilly has been going back and forth with how she feels about Nika. But she prefers Nika to be in Nika form and not in Chucky form. So the only thing that her sadistic brain can come up with to keep Nika in Nika form is to completely amputate her across all forms and dismember her, where she is just an upper torso and head and no arms or legs. That's fucked up. And so I don't know where that goes from there. That sort of is the end of the show. Leaves a little bit, because there's a lot of things to go on for the future, but it does seem like this sort of wraps up whatever we're going to have with Jake, Devin, and Lexi. And we may leave Hackensack. What we do get is a bit of a fireside chat with Chucky, and he sort of lets on that there's going to be a season 2, so don't worry, all those dangling participles that you sort of have will be answered. We'll worry about Nika and Jennifer and the Tiffany doll and Andy all in that part. We do get a sort of a cool thing where we get a body count of how many people he's killed in this season, which is 21, is according to his records. And he won't tell you how he killed them. He actually murdered the cat, which is fun. I think it's a cool way to sort of let on that we're going to be back here and that Chucky's going to return, but it does leave a bit of a salty taste in the mouth because the story here, I would like it to have been somewhat more complete in this round. But that's just me. I did, all in all, the whole series as a whole, this whole first season, really well done. Um, I do hope, I think because the acting ability of uh, Andy Barclay and Kyle, well, Kyle may not be here anymore, aren't the strongest. I do hope that we get, if we don't have Jake, Lexi, and Devin back, I do hope that we do get another grouping of people that can kind of carry the majority of the weight of the acting ability so that we can just use Andy in spurts. But now that we have Tiffany's Doll back on the board, she is the character that I'm the most excited to see in the future. Everything else can kind of, I can take it or leave it. I would love to see more Chucky, but I think Chucky and Tiffany interacting and probably being almost a yin and a yang, a Freddy versus Jason type of situation, that could work for me. What did you guys think about this episode and the season as a whole? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast by the same name. That's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.